Okay, in this lesson, we're gonna spice up the profile page a little bit, um, and it's gonna deal mostly with this page here. Right now, it's empty, um, and so what we're gonna do is instead of doing slash profile, we want to do something like the following. If you do slash Jorge, which is the my username here, I want to display that user's profile page. So we're not gonna have an actual like specific slash profile URL, but it's gonna be kind of like a floating dynamic URL that is just slash the username. Now we are able to do this in Flask because Flask will try to match all the slash with a route. And if it doesn't find any that's not found, it could potentially match the slash username. But in this case, we would do something like a variable here. So it would do slash username, right, like so, and then we would pass that parameter to the function. So now if I do slash Jorge here, um, that should get me into the profile page, as you can see there. But I still can hit slash login, and it knows that it's not a username. The caveat, of course, is that no users can register with the with slash login or slash register. I mean, as register as a username, because that would basically not work. But in any case, let's see how we can look up the username here. We would do something like user equals user objects dot filter, and then try to find a user that has that username that's being passed on the function, and then dot first, and that will get us the first username. And what we're gonna do here is we're gonna pass the user down to the profile. So that's gonna be the extent of our change there. And then we're gonna do a major changes here. One thing, I don't want to go into the whole thing, so I'm gonna just copy and paste the HTML like I've done in the past, and I'll go over it briefly. Okay, so I'm gonna do paste here. Okay, and basically you'll have this on the code repository as well available. But here I'm doing a blog title that has the username as the title dash profile, like Jorge dash profile. I'm gonna pass a static CSS custom CSS for this page that I'll create shortly. Because I want some minor spacing things fixed or overridden, and I need to create that block header on the base HTML, so don't forget that. So then here I'm passing the navbar as I did before. Here I'll have a thumbnail of the user. Now notice this. This is called it's a very useful page called placeholder, which allows you to put placeholder like images, thumbnails, and stuff with the numbers that you pass after it, and it basically renders like a little gray square so that you can kind of like see what it looks like before you actually kind of like do it. One thing I'm gonna do here though is there's this trick. If you pass I guess, yeah, if you pass double slash here, this should work. That allows you to, instead of just passing HTTP or HTTPS, you just pass it to slashes, and it'll match whatever HTTP or HTTPS you have in your file here. In this case, we only have HTTP because I don't see there's a lock in there. But that should work. Otherwise, we'll check that out. Then we display the user's first name, last name, with a link to their profile. And notice how we're doing URL for user app profile, comma, username equals user username, because it's required for the profile function to be passed a username, like so here. Otherwise, it'll fail. Then what else? So I did a little like toolbar where you can see the where you can kind of like add as a friend or block. That kind of functionality will go there, and it also display if you're friends or not. This is of course like dummy data right now because we haven't plugged in that functionality. And then I'm gonna have like a series of posts that other users have done, and I'm using the placeholder thing as well. Let me see if that one on the top works, and then replace those with the double slash at the beginning here. And then after that, I have a little. I believe I have a kind of like a media. I mean, a side column, like a left or right hand side column where I can see this person's friends, and so that's pretty much it. So let's save that and see if we can get into /Jorge. And there you go. So that's what it's gonna be looking like. Not too ugly, I would venture. I really like this thing because you can kind of like get an idea of how those things will look. But see how this one didn't break? That's the one on the top. So let's just go ahead and look for the placeholder and just put this. This is a huge, like I really like that functionality, because if you request HTTP here and your page is HTTPS, you'll get an error on most browsers. So whenever you're like pulling things from another page or even your own page, it doesn't matter. I really like using this this functionality. So I think that those are all the placeholder. I think so. Okay, so let's save that and see if that works the same. Yeah, it works the same. Perfect. And the last thing I want to do is, like I said, I want to put a little CSS on the page. So I'm going to create a folder here called CSS, and I'm going to create a new file here, and I'm calling that base CSS. So it's kind of like a CSS for the whole application. And in there, the only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to call this friends toolbar ID, and I'm going to say height is 60 pixels and margin right is 5 pixels. And finally, I need to update the base HTML. Remember I told you to remind me that. And under style sheet, I think here would be good. I'm gonna like basically allow templates to inject more header values and end block. Okay, so let's see if that changes. Yeah, so you see how there's a little bit more like spacing here. Just looks more better spaced out. So that's it. I think we're gonna continue working on this because this is kind of like the meat and important part of the page. And probably the home page will be kind of like a sub variation of this, because it'll have the same like posts from users. But yeah, let's continue on with our application.